You know, I've always heard that truth is stranger than fiction. And how this stamp mill came about, the donation of this stamp mill, was one of the most unusual things that a person could think of. It came out of the blue. In fact, it was the result of another donation that brought about this one. And I had made arrangements with Phelps Dodge to meet with their people down into headquarters in Phoenix. And they informed us that they were tearing down the reduction bill down at Douglas. And they called the fellow that was in charge of the operation down there and told him we were coming. And we went down and selected the stuff that we wanted. Then we put together a convoy of 2 flatbed semis and a big box truck. And I notified all the papers in Tucson and Phoenix and the TV stations, and even Bill Leverton, because I'd done some things with the Arizona Road, and he went with us on this trip. Well, however it works, that was reprinted by one of the newspapers in the Albuquerque newspaper. And since my name was mentioned, Mr. Joseph Jones called me at home one night, and he told me that he had a 20 stamp mill that he'd like to donate to us. So one of the board members, Ed Seifert, had a light plane, and he took the president, Clay Wurst, who owns a gold mine, and myself to Albuquerque, and he ran us up about 3/4 of the way to Santa Fe, up to the 8,000-foot level in Jimenez Forest. And there was the town of Bland. And we surveyed the whole operation and looked the mill over and reported back to the board what we thought. Well, I pondered for the longest time what kind of equipment it would take to tear that building down and get this stuff out of there. But we were in the process of making a deal with Goldfield Ghost Town with Bob Shoes about locating our museum at Goldfield. And they were going to supply us with a shell building. In fact, we were the third business that came to Goldfield. And we, of course, had to do all the interior, the electric, the sheetrock, and everything. But he needed lumber. So we made the deal that he got all the lumber that didn't have anything to do with the stamp mill, and we got the stamp mill. There again, he had a front end loader. And that was the only piece of equipment that we had to complete this entire operation. And we spent 28 days taking this mill down. And the tear down was complete. And after the property was found and it was the museum was being built, Hank Brown and I again, alone, moved the stamp mill, tore it down at Goldfield, and brought it down over here and put it back up, just the 2 of us, and with the boom trucks. And we leveled this area and built a little hill behind it, because we had to have a wall behind the stamp mill to attach, to stabilize these uprights. And so the first thing we did was scoop all this out and build the hill on the back. And then we built the forms for all these cement pillars that the motor boxes are sitting on. And we built all the forms. We used lots of rebar, 3,500-pound test cement. And the one on the end that we knew we were going to run was a little bit bigger than the rest of them. And then we built these supports on the side for the timbers that held the uprights. Then we put the uprights on, and then we put the stamps up in there after we put the cross member on top, and finished it up by making the roof. And using 2 boom trucks, we raised and put the roof on, because we never had any intention of putting it in a building, but it did need some protection from the elements, mostly the sun we were concerned about. So the roof was there just to take the worst part of the exposure to the sun and protect it. We got it to this point, and at that point, Apache Land Movie Ranch burnt down. And we were donated Roddy Murphy barn and the Elvis Chapel, and we were given 60 days to get it out of there. And we had a lot of trouble with that. The weather was terrible, and we lost about 30 days just due to weather. But we never got back to the stamp mill. And after I left the museum, these other gentlemen come in, and they actually got it running. It was our intention to do that, but we didn't have an opportunity.
Thank you for watching this episode of Mysteries of the Superstition Mountains.